4 cases of influenza A H1N1 have been recorded in Barbados, with one of them resulting in death. Confirmation of this from the Ministry of Health. It comes after the ministry received the results from 10 samples it sent to the Caribbean Public Health Agency, or CARPHA, in Trinidad last week for analysis. The other 6 samples were negative for the H1N1 virus. Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Elizabeth Ferdinand is, however, reassuring the public that Barbados has adequate supplies of Tamiflu, which is recommended for people in high-risk groups and those who need hospitalization. In addition, a shipment of the seasonal influenza vaccine was expected today. That vaccine contains the H1N1 virus and will be offered to frontline workers in the public sector and people in high-risk groups. According to Dr. Ferdinand, in light of the outbreak, the Ministry of Health will intensify its public awareness efforts through various media as a way of sensitizing the public about the do's and don'ts in relation to H1N1. Attorney General Adriel Brathwaite says Barbados will continue to fight transnational crime at all levels because it has the potential to create instability in any economy and discourage foreign investment. He made the comments while delivering the keynote address at the opening of the 34th Annual Crime Stoppers International Conference at the Hilton Hotel. Peter Thorne has the story.
Attorney General Adriel Brathwaite says Barbados will continue to train its police and immigration officers to help fight transnational crimes, including human trafficking. He believes that increased awareness of the problem will allow Barbadians to report more cases to the authorities.
Over the past 2 years, the government of Barbados has responded to threats of transnational crime with the enactment of legislation and policy guidelines to eliminate such illegal activities. An example of the work being done was evident when earlier this year, law enforcement officials arrested and charged several persons who were engaged in human trafficking, and they were taken before the law courts here. The Transnational Organized Crime Prevention and Control Act 2011 also led to the establishment of a national task force for the prevention of trafficking in persons under my chairmanship.
Mr. Brathwaite also addressed the issue of Barbados continuing to be placed on Tier 2 of the watch list in the Trafficking in Persons report published annually by the U.S. State Department. He says one of the reasons for this is that the Transnational Organized Crime Act doesn't include trafficking at the domestic level.
I believe that part of the reason why we've been retained on the Tier 2 list is a misunderstanding of our legislative approach, and in some ways a one-size-fits-all approach by the U.S. authorities. I want to take this opportunity, however, to express my confidence in our law enforcement agencies to vigorously investigate all cases of human trafficking and to bring perpetrators to justice.
And the president of Crime Stoppers International, Alexander MacDonald, has lauded Barbados for stepping in to host a conference in the absence of the UK, noting that the organization's efforts globally have been a success.
Our success in our various communities is one of society's best-kept secrets. Due to the structure of Crime Stoppers International, both locally and worldwide. Most people are not aware of the many successful stories that have been seen in our local and international media of criminals convicted before the courts of acts or crimes that affect our communities. They are unaware of how law enforcement obtain the necessary evidence. We, as Crime Stoppers, however, are aware.
The conference has drawn dozens of participants from around the world and has as its theme, Reinventing for the Future. Peter Thorne, CBC News.
The Royal Barbados Police Force says it won't be easing up in its fight against human trafficking. The comments from Assistant Commissioner of Police Mark Thompson at the 34th Crime Stoppers International Conference. He says that since a separate unit was set up to investigate human trafficking, 3 people have been brought before the courts to answer charges pertaining to the issue, adding that cooperation globally is vital to combat the problem.
The stark reality is that any sustained effective action to prevent and combat trafficking in persons and crimes against children require a comprehensive international approach in the countries of origin, transit, and destination. In other words, the 4 P's mentioned earlier, there being prevention, protection, prosecution, and punishment, cannot be achieved without a 5th P, namely partnerships.
Mr. Thompson, however, says policing issues pertaining to intellectual property has been difficult, and Barbados will have to redouble its efforts in this regard.
One of the reasons for this difficulty is that the owners of the rights often reside outside of the jurisdiction. This shows that partnership creation and strengthening is a necessary precondition to successfully manage this type of transnational organized crime.
One man was hospitalized after a shooting at Content in St. Thomas last night. He is Derek Haynes of Ebenezer St. Philip. The incident reportedly occurred at 20 minutes to 9 o'clock, leaving Haynes with a gunshot injuries to his left leg and back. According to Police Public Relations Officer Inspector David Welch, Haynes is listed in stable condition at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital after undergoing surgery. Police investigations are continuing. A Christchurch resident is appealing to the Barbados Water Authority to answer their call and repair a burst pipe which has been gushing for weeks, as it is proving to be a health hazard and a nuisance. We hear more in this report from Kishmar Sinjis.
This is a burst pipe here at Lower Carter's Gap that residents are worried about. It has been like this for about a month, and calls to the Barbados Water Authority have gone unanswered.
Noticed that our water pressure was becoming less and less. Then when we checked, we realized there was a leak just outside of the meter. So we attempted to make a report to the Water Authority, but there was no answer for about a week and a half. We eventually got them on the 17th, and after seeing no response for a week, we called again on the 25th. No response. We haven't seen them, and up to now, we still haven't seen them, so we have to resort to calling the media.
The residents are not only worried about the water pressure, but about the pools of water such as this that have been gathering around the property.
Pressure at our house is getting lower and lower, and not to mention the mosquito infestation. You have seen the pools of water that are now gathering, so we really need some help as soon as possible.
The burst pipe is also affecting construction here at this nearby site. From Lower Carter's Gap in Christchurch, Kishmar Sinjis, CBC News.
Meanwhile, when CBC contacted communications specialist with the Barbados Water Authority, Joyanne Haig, she said the authority is looking into the matter and it will be rectified as soon as possible. She also indicated that a 16-inch burst main at Marine Gardens is currently responsible for low water pressure or outages in parts of the Christchurch area. Ms. Haig said engineers switched the systems to minimize impact. However, customers along Hastings, Carters, and up to Gibbons Ridge will be affected. She said the BWA is doing all in its power to resume service as soon as possible. Look for the Democratic Labour Party to improve its approach to public relations. According to General Secretary of the party, Donville Innes, this has been an area of some concern. Speaking during a Democratic Labour Party St. Joseph meeting, Mr. Innes said it must start with clearly outlining the party's position on various issues for the public and responding to criticisms.
As a political party, we have to up our public relations. And I am not going to mince words on this point. If you had to step back from the Democratic Labour Party and look at it from a 5,000-foot level, most of us will have to conclude that our image as a political party today is not what we like. We can do better and we must do better.
Mr. Innes, who is also Minister of Industry, International Business, Commerce and Small Business Development, said the party must return to some of the things it did when it sought office in 2007.
So I want to send a very clear message that this Democratic Labour Party executive administration is not going to roll over and play dead. We are not going to be quiet any longer. Our voices will be heard. We will find every mechanism possible, legally of course, to ensure that people in this country clearly understand and deeply appreciate what we are doing understand the challenges that we are facing.
The leader of the opposition says Barbadians are still very confused about many of government's proposed cost-cutting measures, some of which came into effect today. Among these, Mia Motley said, is the consolidation tax and the value-added tax rebates to the tourism sector. Ms. Motley was speaking at a meeting of the Barbados Labour Party's St. Michael Northeast branch over the weekend.
The Value-Added Tax Department sent out a circular on Friday trying to define what are the direct tourism services that will have this reduced rate of VAT. Will it be restaurants? Will it be car rental agencies? Who will it be? Will it be attractions? Because those people need to know how much to charge you.
Ms. Motley charges that many of the cost-cutting and revenue-earning measures outlined by Finance Minister Chris Sinclair in the budget in August have already missed their target. She also told party supporters that the BLP has started work on a program that will put the island on a more sound footing.
We know what we have to do, and we're now in the stages of fleshing it out. But it is not for us to muddy the way, because government has to be given the way to execute their plans. This is not about what can be and what should be. This now is about what is. Because every international and regional commentator and local recognize that this government has absolutely little room for error.
Nurses in Barbados could soon join the growing ranks of professionals who are required to show proof of continuing education in order to remain registered. Chief Nursing Officer Dr. Wendy Seeley, though not giving specifics, said provision for this was made in the Nurses Act revised in 2008. She was speaking at the opening of a 3-day nurses seminar at the National Union of Public Workers. Dr. Seeley explained that the Nursing Council will be required to set certain standards for professionals, and continuing education will be among them.
Within the context of the development of standards of clinical practice and professional practice, there will be requirements and more pressure on you to meet that criteria. The day is coming sooner than later, and I wouldn't want to speak out of turn, but the day is coming sooner or later when you are going to be required to complete continuing professional education in order to re-register. It is on the 2008 Nurses Act. Are you with me? So activities such as this are very, very critical. You will be awarded continuing education credits. You have to meet a certain number of credits, and within the context of that, you will be registered.
Dr. Seeley also urged the leaders of the profession to ensure that procedures, regulations, and protocols are updated regularly.
Professional standards and clinical standards of practice are essential, with the appropriate elements and performance criteria set as benchmarks of achievement for the particular standard. This effort therefore requires constant development, review, and revision of such standards at national and institutional levels to ensure applicability to the ever-changing healthcare environment. How many institutions represented here have standards? Are you aware of the standards? Do you see them? Standards are things that are not supposed to be on a shelf catching dust.
The search has begun for the Bartender of the Year, and that person will also represent Barbados at next year's Taste of the Caribbean competition. 16 bartenders gathered at the Hilton Hotel's Carinage Bar on Saturday to participate in the inaugural BIDC Rums of Barbados Mix Master competition. That competition is being sponsored by the Rums of Barbados, the BIDC, and the BHTA. Organizer and resident mixologist at Sandy Lane Hotel, Jamal Bowen, revealed that only 10 will be chosen to advance to the finals of the competition.
Today the judges are going to be looking for taste, creativity, skill set of the bartender who is going to be going forward. We're also looking for the bartenders who are charismatic and take charge behind the bar. We have an esteemed flanked level of judges here, ranging from head chefs to distributors to cocktail connoisseurs as well.